Hi besties, today I'm going to be showing you how to make skirts like this. They are so versatile, easy to make. I can wear them over skirts like this, so it looks like this or like this. These are basically inspirations on how to style this skirt. If this is something you are interested in like me, let's jump into the video. To begin with, I will make my starting line. So I'll take the rest of my measurements from here. So in my own case, my skirt length is 22 inches. That's high waist. My high waist skirt length is 22 inches. But because of the type of skirt we are trying to make, that mini skirt, you are meant to see or wear another type of skirt underneath it. So I'll deduct about 4 inches from my normal skirt length. So 22 minus 4 is 18. So the length of this skirt I'm making right now will be 18 inches. So I'll go ahead to mark 18 inches. If you already have an idea of the type of skirt or dress you'll be wearing this skirt over, just go ahead and measure how long it is, then subtract 4 inches. So yours might not be as long as the knee length. In fact, the truth is that the skirt is nicer when it is way shorter. So your knee length is ordinarily too long. What this means is that the inner piece you'll be wearing this mini skirt over should be higher than your knee length. Maybe with about 3 inches to 4 inches if you are comfortable with wearing really short skirts. However, if you belong to the knee length or below the knee length gang like I am, you can totally make this short version in this picture. Just mark downwards from your hip line about 4 inches and that will make up for your entire skirt length. So what you do next is to measure your waist to your hip. So I'll go ahead and label that so that I don't get anything mixed up. So this is my hip line. The next thing to do is to mark about 5 inches upward from the hem of my skirt. So from here, I'll mark 5 inches. Note that 5 inches is not a standard. It can go as high as 6, 7, 8 inches. You can even start from the hip line. It totally depends on your preference. So this line will be the point where I want my front curve to be. So I'll go ahead to mark my 5 inches. The next thing to do is to determine your that point. For me, I basically just divide my waist by 8. So in my own case, my waist is 28. 28 divided by 4 by 8 rather will be 3.5. So I'll go ahead to mark 3.5. I'll connect that to the end of my skirt. The next thing to do is to impute my measurements on the pattern. For my waist divided by 4 is 7. So I'll go ahead to mark 7 inches. For the hip, because you are going to be wearing something else under this mini skirt, or you could even sew on like pleats under the skirt. That if you check the picture very well, you see that there is an additional extra skirt under this skirt you are trying to make. So we're not going to use your exact hip measurement. For example, my hip is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9. So you can add as little as 1 inch to your hip. So in my own case, that will be 10 inches, or you can add as much as 2 inches depending on the volume of the skirt you're going to be wearing, or whatever fashion piece you're going to be wearing under the skirt we're making right now. So you can add as little as 1, you can add up to 2. I'm not sure of 3, but right now I'll be working with, for me, I'll use 1 inch. So on my hip, instead of marking 9 inches, I'll go ahead to mark 10 inches. So that will be, I've added 1 inch in 4 places. That would have made it, that would mean that I've added 4 inches to my entire hip measurement. You can add 2, like I said, and I'll go ahead to just add my 1 inch sewing allowance. So add 1 inch sewing allowance like so. Then I would mark this straight down. Because the skirt is not fitted, I'm not going to be doing any shaping around there. I will just take it all the way down in a slant manner, and that's basically it. It almost looks like an A-line skirt. Yeah. So the next thing to do then is to grab our curved ruler. You grab your curved ruler and you place this here. Why I marked 5 inches here is because I want my curve to be somewhere around here. So you grab your curve and measure it this way.
For those making the shorter version, because mine is a little longer than the usual, your curve will most likely start around the hip line or on the hip line, and that's also totally fine.
And that way, this step has been completed already. If you want it slightly wider, you can even go in more. Depending on how deep you want this part of the skirt to be. Then mark 1 inch from here. And for this side, you can determine how high or how low you want it to be. I want this side of the skirt not to be on the same line as this one. I want it to be slightly higher. So I'll go up from here by about 2 inches. Can go as low as 1, but I think I want to do 2 inches. Then I'll place my curve like this. And I'll mark. And that would be basically it for the front panel. And the good thing about this is that you can adjust this however you want. You can make this slimmer, you can make it slightly wider. Just totally depends on you. And like I mentioned, you can decide to manipulate this shape however you want. So instead of us to have used our waist divided by 8, you can decide to divide your hip by 8 instead. So in my own case, it would have been 4.5. So you can mark 4.5 like so. And you can take your shaping from there. So the skirt will now look something like this. Then you can take your 1 inch from here. I hope I'm not getting you confused. Then you can now go ahead to do something like this. So really totally depends on you, but I would prefer to have mine here. Then I'll go ahead to cut this out.
If you have come this far with me in this video, thank you so much for sticking with me. Do well to like, subscribe. You can also drop me comments about how you feel about this video, or if you have any questions for me. I look forward to hearing from you.
And you have something like this when you are done cutting. Remember that this part of the skirt will be cut on fold, and you might not need to add any allowances when you are sewing this one. You can just sew by 0.25 across here, or you can add a little allowance depending on how wide you want this part of the skirt to be. So we'll move ahead to the back pattern. For the back, is basically the same process. What I'll need to only add is the zip allowance. So I'll go ahead to mark my zip allowance. I prefer to just use 1 inch, so I'll mark 1 inch sewing allowance, zip allowance, sorry. And then I'll make a straight line. Oops, sorry about that. And after I've done that, I'll place my front on my back pattern like this, and I'll pin it out, and I'll pin it down so that I can cut. And I'll just cut that out. So you can go ahead to label this as your front, so you don't get it confused. Then I'll remove my pins and label this as my back. Like I mentioned earlier, you can sew this part of the skirt by 0.25 so that here is slightly slimmer than it already is, so you don't need to add any allowances to this pattern anymore. Sew this by 0.25 and sew this by 1 inch, or whatever allowances you added to your pattern. And for the back, you can do the same. Sew this by 0.25 and sew in your zip allowances and your seam side allowances. As for your band, you can remove your band from here. For example, if your band is 1 inch, you go ahead to mark out 1 inch from here. I'll do the same thing for the back. Mark out your 1 inch. For some people, really, they just go ahead to mark like straight 1 inch and add it to this already pattern. But for you to have a nicer fit, I'll go ahead to cut this out. I'll also label this as my front so I don't get it mixed up. Then I'll also cut out this band right here. And I'll take this aside for now and label this as my back. So what you can now do is to take out your seam allowances by the side. I added 1 inch, so I'll go ahead to mark out 1 inch. Okay, this is already marked out. For this place, and I'll go ahead to cut out these allowances. So cut the allowance from the back. Then with my tape, I'll connect this together. Let me get my tape and do that. So my tape, I'll connect the two sides together like so. Yes, and this way you have a very nice fit around your band. So you cut this on fold, because this will be your front. You cut this on fold, and this will be your band. What you need to do is just to add your 0.5 sewing allowance on both ends, and also 0.5 when you are cutting on fabric, and you can go ahead to sew. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'll see you again in my next video. Bye.